Namaskaram and Hari Om to everyone. So the last we did was the seventh verse. Tavat satyam jagadbhati shuktikarjatam yatha yavanna jnayate brahma sarvadhishthana advayam. Adhishtanam means the substratum. Sarva, it is the substratum of all. Advayam, the non-dual reality. The Brahman is the supporter. The world appears real as long as the non-dual reality, the Brahman, which is a substratum of all, is not realized. You don't realize when you don't see the substratum. The world appears to be real, just like silver in an oyster shell, isn't it? we closely examined the example of the silver in oyster shell, didn't we? Does it all come as a flash? Now, the oyster shell, which appears as the illusory silver on a moonlit night, you take a stroll on a beach, you see an oyster shell, and you think it is silver. And the moment you see the shell, the silver instantly vanishes. There's no more the silver. So the oyster shell is a substratum of the illusory silver. The silver is real as long as the underlying reality, which is the oyster shell, is not realized. But the moment you see the shell, the silver vanishes. Now, what further we understand from that example, the moment you see the silver, it only establishes, it only confirms the existence of the shell. You cannot see silver if there was no shell at all, isn't it? Now we must expand our understanding. It's not just saying that as long as the oyster shell is not seen, the silver appears. The moment you see the shell, the silver disappears. That's a straightforward thing. We understand that, yes, as long as the Brahman is not realized, the world appears real. The moment you realize Brahman, the world becomes illusory. Fair enough, perfect. But then what further we gather is the fact that you see the silver, there is an establishment, there is the existence of the shell. There is that existence of the shell. That's what you got to understand. Similarly, what we confirm, that the illusion of the world, the illusory nature of the world that we see, which is illusory in nature, cannot come from thin air. So the fact that the world has emerged, just like the fact that the perception of silver has arisen, the world of plurality that we see, the world that we experience, only confirms the existence of Brahman. It confirms that there is a substratum, and the masters call that substratum as the Brahman, the non-dual reality. You and I don't know what that is, because we're only seeing silver. We don't see the oyster shell. So what is the abhyasa? One is a statement of fact. See, the sadhana for a sadhak is converting a statement of fact into a statement of practice. It is a statement of fact for the Mahatma, for the Guru, because he sees it very clearly. But in order to reach that state, what the Guru has experienced, because we are aspiring to gain their wisdom, we must convert the statement of fact into a statement of practice. There is no point nearly knowing the truth if you do not do anything to convert it into an abhyasa or a practice. Now, what is the message? How do you convert that statement of fact to statement of practice? How do you go from the silver to the shell? You get what I'm saying? Now you are fascinated with the silver and you fail to realize that it is just an oyster shell. But if you want to move away from the fascination of the glittery silver and understand the hollowness of it and realize it's just a shell, it is not. It is the shell. In fact, it's not that glossy silver which you're enamored by. To make that shift, if I were to borrow the word, to make that mental shift, to make that paradigm shift, to shift from this to that, what you need to do, what is that abhyasa you need to practice? If you don't put that quality into practice, you will no way have a chance to reach that Brahman, which is the underlying reality. Vasantama, what is that abhyasa every sadhak should practice to reach the Brahman?
We have to realize that it is only a silver. The shell is underlying is the shell. Because of the oyster shell, the silver is there.
Absolutely.
So like that, in worldly this thing, we have to understand that this is not real. We have to go inward and seek for the Brahman.
But what is the abhyasa there? How do you get to that essential? See, this is a crystallization, ma. You know, this, what you clearly spelt it out, is the fruit of abhyasa. It is not the abhyasa, it's a fruit, which is the experience of the Mahatmas. Now, in order to get to that, what is it you should do?
You have to overcome your ignorance.
Everybody, then you will get to the question where all the Sadgurus have been answering in the group.
First step
What is ignorance and the manifestations of ignorance? And what has happened is all my ignorance is gone. Thanks to all the wisdom you all have given, my ignorance has been dispelled.
First step is self-purification, control over senses.
First step. Okay. Then next step.
Going inward, dropping all lower and
moving from our gunas, moving towards the sattva guna.
Ma, Setuji and Vasantama, I want you to think in the context. And I gave a cue in the example. A person gets fascinated with silver, with the glittery silver, and he fails to realize it's just a mere empty shell. If you take a cue from those words, what is the abhyasa you bring into the world so that you don't get carried away with the fascinations of the world and somehow give yourself an opportunity to see and realize the Adhishtanam, the Brahman.
not give a value to any of the worldly attractions.
In fact, I have answered myself, sir. The question is myself answered. It becomes very easy now to think along this way, isn't it, Setuji?
Yeah.
Now you see, Vasantama, why I tried to clarify it is You're bringing gunas into the equation. You're talking of other aspects. So we're not able to come to the context. That is always very important. So if you think along with me, there's always a cue in the very thought process itself. It's just think along with me. Not that it's anything new. It's just that the answer is very much there. So what is the quality we have to practice? Since I'm with you all, can you spell it out now?
The quality of abhyasa. I mean, we have to.
Abhyasa is the quality. What is the quality you have to practice? What is that you said, Setuji?
Vairagya.
Vairagya.
What is Vairagya?
Discrimination. Dispassion.
Vairagya. Viveka is discrimination.
Dispassion.
Vairagya is an attitude of dispassion, detachment, disinterest, which arises because you don't give it the value or the exaggerated value. We keep using that word. We give so much value to something, it becomes so important in our lives. And what does exaggerated value create? When you give so much value to something, give so much value to an emotion, give so much value to a certain experience, what happens?
Attachment.
You develop an attachment. So when you develop an attachment, is there a chance for you to realize the underlying reality? No chance. You're already caught up, you're carried away with the very illusory world. So if you want to get any chance to transcend the world, you must practice that detachment. And detachment in simple terms is hi-bye attitude. You go about freely contacting the world. Hello, Hariom, bye-bye. Nothing to do with you. I have nothing, no interest, and yet I have no reason to be inhuman. Hi, I greet everyone. I'm available for everyone, but yet I have got nothing to do with anyone. Hi, bye.
Like the water on the lotus leaf.
Correct. That is detachment. You're there and yet not there. And yet you're available for everything. You're available for every person. You are there in every situation, and yet you got nothing to do with it. Nothing. You must not be like the blotting paper. You must be like the butter paper. The blotting paper, it absorbs everything. Even a drop of ink, everything that falls in it absorbs it and becomes it. If you're the butter paper, you dip the butter paper into water, it comes out clean as it were, nothing affects, because it's got that greasy surface that protects it, exactly like the lotus leaf, isn't it? It is so easy to talk, but it is very, very important to remain very clearly focused, very clear, that you don't get caught up in any of, whether be it joy, whether be it sorrow. There's nothing in the world other than joy and sorrow, isn't it? You can get caught up in certain moments of sorrow, or you can get carried away with moments of joy. Not easy. And one who has that vision will certainly be able to move closer, because he's clearing away the illusion which is clustering his ability to see the reality. It's just a mental cluster. That's about all. So the world, in fact, in the next verse, if I'm not wrong, yeah, I think that in the 9th verse, we're going to see it. He says the entire world, where does it arise from? Let's since I mentioned it, let's clarify it. The entire world, where does the world arise and begin? Venkateshwar Garu.
Hari Om Guru, Hari Om. This is all Maya.
Yes, the world which is Maya for you. But where does the world begin and end?
So our mind, projection of mind.
It is all in the projection of your own mind. It's all within, as Keshavji is saying, it's all within us. It's all within me. It's all in my mind. So if I can get rid of the cluster in my mind, I start seeing the perception becomes very clear. Isn't it? It's
Yes.
whether you see Brahman or whether you see the world, it's all in your own mind. It's all your mental creation.
Yes.
But if in order to see Brahman, you must remove the cluster. That's what we are saying. So what conditions the perception is the mind. If there is no mind, no mental perception, what happens? When there is no mental interference in filtering the perception, what happens? Rajima, when the mind doesn't interfere in the filtering the perception, what happens?
You become that consciousness.
You become that consciousness.
You realize the
You
state
see
of Brahman.
You see the reality. You see what is meant to be experienced, isn't it? Like, for example, he says in the next example, he says there, in the next few verses, it's like water appears. What is the difference between pure water and, let's say, Coca-Cola? Gayatri Ma, what is the difference between water and Coke? You say, I don't know, I've never drank Coke. Don't say that.
No, Guruji, water is natural without any additions to it. Coca-Cola has got all chemicals and other external matters added into it.
So it is conditioning, isn't it? It has something else and conditioning it. So the moment you remove the conditioning element, the substratum, which is the water, you see it, you experience it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So even while I'm saying, all of you, what are you doing right now? As I'm speaking, what are you doing? Do you realize what you're doing?
We are only registering in our mind.
I'll be so glad if you're registering it. Before it gets registered, what is going on is the question, Gayatri Ma.
Our perception is, we are perceiving it.
Perceiving it with what?
With our ear.
Yeah, here and here onumilla. But perception is created by your receptacles. What are your receptacles here? It is the mind and the intellect.
Mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is your mind and intellect doing to the knowledge which is coming your way?
It is storing it as of now.
Ama. You are storing. What is happening to the what does the mind and intellect do to the knowledge that's coming your way? What's happening? Hariji, boliye. The moment they said Hariji, he froze. Are you there, sir? I think we have lost him. Hariji, repeat the question.
Hari Om Guruji.
Yes, sir.
You want me to repeat the question?
Because many people have answers. I want to know what the question is.
What is your state before the perception? Is that what you were getting to?
The Pudusu question. Question that is a new question. I didn't ask this question.
How did you said? I'm not able to recall the exact.
Let's surrender to Rajima. Rajima, please. Hariji, please surrender to Rajima. 1 minute. Hariji, can you please ask Rajima? Rajima, can you please give us the question? Can you please do that?
What is happening to you?
Hello. Let the request come across to you. No, why are you giving? Knowledge is always taken. Don't give it. Let it be sought.
Hari Om, as usual, please Tell me what's happening.
Idella additional. As usual, idella additional. We don't want all this.
Guruji said that. Okay, repeat the question, please.
Rajima, please.
Hari Om Guruji, what is happening to you as I am speaking? What is happening in you as you are speaking? Guruji is speaking.
Andava, is there anyone there who's heard what the question is? No, in fact, okay, Subramaniam ji, only hope, sir. Even Rajima has got the question wrong. Solongo, what is the question?
I don't have the screen.
No, you are very much audible.
Hari Om Guruji.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
The question that you put, it fell into the mind, and then what happened there? That is what I understood from the question that you put to Gayatri, and then this thing.
Yeah, correct. The question, in essence, what I'm asking is, when the knowledge is being given right now, the mind and intellect are the receptacles, isn't it? They
Yes.
are receiving the knowledge. So the question is, what is happening to the knowledge which is being received by the mind and intellect is the question.
May I attempt the answer, Guruji?
Yes, please.
It's such a joy to be with you, because you just will be rather making us come out of our own shell.
Oh, indeed a pleasure.
Years of being in government and ultimately listening and then last minute decisions, we are always trained to be in the shell. So this is a beautiful opportunity for second innings to come out and then become little children again. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Yes, sir.
So the knowledge that you are giving, Guruji, I am receiving it from through my indriyas, and finally it goes to the mind, you said. And this mind is actually judging it, processing it and all that, because it's at that level only.
Mm.
And then if I surrender the mind, the last time you mentioned very clearly that is when the meditation aspect really clicked for me. I'm still not able to go deep into it. But then you mentioned very clearly that meditation is having one thought, the exclusion of all other thoughts, and under the supervision of the intellect, you said. So when I am receiving your knowledge, am I just allowing the mind to process it and then keep it at that level, or am I taking slowly back, doing manana and making the intellect absorb that and then ultimately guide me towards the ultimate truth? So this is what I need to look at it as you speak, and as the entire satsang, the discussions with everything goes. Hari Om.
Subramaniam ji,
Hanji.
the context of this question arose from, I asked Gayatri Ma the difference between Coke and water. Clear?
Yes.
I said Coke and water. What is Coke? Contaminated water.
Yes.
The water is the base, and it has other ingredients.
Yes.
Transform it into a Coke.
Yes.
So the water which is pure has become impure Coke, just for
Yes.
discussion's sake. We are not against Coke or any drink for that matter. All right.
Yes.
Thereafter, immediately I followed up with this question.
Yes.
When this knowledge comes to you all, what is happening? Are you able to maintain and retain the originality and the purity of what is said? Or is it being contaminated, filtered with your receptacle, which is your mind and intellect?
Yes.
That is
It's
what I
being
was getting at.
Yes.
So, if I may, Subramaniam ji, you contaminated it with the thought of meditation, the thought of manana, the thought of withdrawing. You have interpreted it differently, not what was intended.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, what is said is one thing, what is interpreted is multifold impressions, far from perhaps what was said, what was intended. I know what is intended, but your perceptions are constantly being filtered with your thoughts, with your experiences, with your perception of understanding what is conveyed.
Yes.
Just like pure water and contaminated water. Are you all in the context? Not that your understanding is wrong, but I'm trying to convey that. So when I said that example, I switched to it just to convey it is rather very difficult even to retain the knowledge which is given in its pure, unfalsified form. If any one of you are able to keep the knowledge in its pure, unfalsified form, you have not conditioned it, even in layman's sense. Ardhamautunda, sir?
Yes, yes.
So I may use different examples. I keep saying because I'm very conscious of a particular methodology.
Yes.
It's a very conscious system I'm taking. So I may use many examples. The theme is the same until I switch the concept. So I spoke of the water and I spoke of this example. So these two examples convey the same thing. I don't know whether we spoke of any other example prior to this. I can't recall. But I request all of you to be very, very conscious of this study, because we are all in a journey. And if we are able to follow these essential concepts, we will not cluster our mind with things which is not necessary. Like we are not talking of meditation, Manyangaru.
Yes, yes.
So it's not necessary to bring into the equation. Not that you're wrong, but then we are bringing in things which is not required.
Foreign matter.
Foreign matter, correct. We only want local matter, no more foreign matter.
Yes.
Saringla.
That's right.
Yes, Harishji.
Guruji, if, pardon me, but this is exactly what I was trying to say. What does it do to you? Because what you had said was when you give the information or when you receive information, and you receive it through your mind / intellect.
Correct.
The mind conditions the information and, as it were, puts it into the pockets of perception, of its past perception. So it colors it with its past perception.
Correct.
And therefore, what you see is the perception. However, if one goes a little one step before to what you said earlier, that the proof of a negative, that the existence of a negative proves the existence of a positive, right? So then if you can have that dispassion to say that I am seeing this perception, and the fact that this perception is not real means that there is something which is real. And that is what is the role of the intellect. To guide you to the fact that there is a reality, and therefore the whole journey of seeing the ultimate or the real truth. So the process of decontaminating is through the intellect, because the mind has contaminated by pocketing it based on past perception or whatever.
See, even the intellect can also be clouded with past knowledge. Isn't it? Even intellect also has preconceived notions or past impressions. So the art of receiving knowledge, Shravana as we call, what the problem is, while you're doing Shravana, you're doing Manana also. You should not do Manana when you're doing Shravana. Shravana is receiving this knowledge. And if you receive it as, I'll think along with the speaker what the input is, so that you're not doing any independent comparative study. That independent questioning or a comparative study or inquiry into what you have received happens later independently, not when knowledge is being received. So the problem of Manana, or our perception, as you rightly said, colors the ability to even receive it. So what you receive is far from the entirety what is said. Isn't it? It's like you just take one half of a statement and then you leave the other half. Dangerous.
As you keep saying the famous word neti. So when you see the perception, then you say, couple it with neti, then you say that this is not it.
Correct. But don't say neti now. Huh? Say iti. This is it. Okay. So it is not, you're not just toying with concepts or ideas, but these are all profound philosophical truths, and that you got to get grounded. These are all foundation stones, for a deeper and a greater, because the principles will not change. You must be detached to what you're doing now, and all through your journey, you got to put this practice of being detached to everything that you get in contact with. Whatever you get in touch with, you must learn to say the attitude of hi and bye. So don't get attached. And that is known as samsara. The moment you get attached, you're caught up in samsara. That's the message. That's the message beyond what the mere perception of silver and oyster shell. It's not just the mere seeing whether you see silver or oyster shell. That is there. And then establishes it and how to get to it. So every verse, every message can be converted into a abhyasa, which becomes practical philosophy. Pure philosophy and applied philosophy, you must have a clear demarcation. When you're doing your own study, your own analysis or capturing of these ideas, one side put the pure philosophy, other side put the applied philosophy. Same thing can be translated into applied philosophy. And then you grow. Otherwise, it's good to say, oh, I see silver, I don't see oyster, I see oyster, I don't see silver. Very good, I understand. And then you're caught up in silver and oyster, both you're stuck. You can't come out of this, not that. Now, how to move forward beyond silver oyster? You must have applied and pure. Then you get certain clarity. Okay. So the tougher part is to get into applied. It is very easy to speak a pure philosophy. To speak at a higher absolute level, romba easy. You just need to have little concept, little language, and then you become very poetic. That's what most gurus do. Please understand that. I'm not sitting in judgment of others. I'm trying to tell, if you want to be a sadhak, you want to learn the text, it has to be taught. And if you want to teach and if you want to practice, it has to be switched from absolute to relative. So bring the knowledge down to your level. Like a music teacher, she can be a profound musician. But when students comes at different levels, she has to go down to the level of the student and teach. He may be a preliminary teacher. She has to teach him the ragas. What is sa, re, ga, ma, pa? Start with that. You can't start off with a Carnatic concert to a student who comes to you the first day and say, this is how Carnatic music is. That kid will be blown away. He'll be afraid to plunge into a study. So you've got to come down to the level of the student. And that is what is the exercise we have done just now. And every section of the text you can do that. All right. So let's move on. We'll take up a beautiful verse, the next verse.